We can't talk about the new Supergirl film without addressing the teenage boy-style outcry freakout over Millie Alcock. We address it with a profound sense of weariness, utterly, predictably, and transcendently depressing. So, in this video, let's talk a little bit about that, but also let's review the Supergirl movie. First of all, let me get this straight. I don't want this series of endless sequels, reboots, reimaginings, spin-offs, all of that stuff. I'm fed up of it all. It's getting beyond boring now, and the folks that moan about it the most are the ones who are always pointing out, where are the original films these days? Well, they exist. This channel has reviews of loads of them, and some people do go and see them. Like these two, for example, you know, they've been quite popular recently. But given that Supergirl exists, and yeah, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there has been a fairly massive reaction to it, so I thought it's time to talk about it. We're in the modern era, right? And yet, we're still having those same manufactured bad faith arguments, orchestrated by anonymous commenters with anime avatars and bios that say things like "Dad of 4 Christian." I think the Supergirl actress said that. In fact, she said more. She pointed out in a Variety interview, where she says essentially, we've become very comfortable having this weird ownership of women's bodies. And you know, some of the comments out there, if you refer to other movies like this or this, some of those comments that refer to them are pretty based. But here, with Supergirl, we're in a whole other stratosphere. Look at this, for example. Look how utterly disgusting this is to describe a fellow human being. Look how petty and disgraceful it is to write words like that about somebody that's in a movie. So if the Supergirl movie existing here and now upsets you so much, why bother going to see it? Why bother getting upset by it? Why say these things? Why care? We obviously live in some sort of world where the male gaze itself is still a thing. It's still something that people are all right with. Maybe you wanted to go and watch Supergirl to just drool over Supergirl, to just sit there and go, to drool over Millie Alcock or whatever. Forget any attempts at characterization, arcs in story, any of that stuff. All that matters is she hot? Why does Supergirl owe you attractiveness anyway? Why must she be sexualized? Why is that? Because that is what the debate has descended into. That's what those comments mean. They're demeaning everything about it. They're demeaning everything about Millie Alcock because she's a girl that they say they don't find attractive. She's a girl that they think should be there only to give them an erection. Or some other shit. I don't know. But you know, isn't Millie Alcock's attractiveness subjective to the individual anyway? All of it proves their point, 100%. The reaction itself proves exactly what she's saying. The reaction online, the reaction in the pub, down the pub, maybe in the playground. I don't know where the reaction is in the real world, but certainly the reaction online, well, it's that. It's based adolescent bullshit. The debate has just basically become about how not hot she is. I mean, what the fuck? And that's exactly what Millie is talking about in those interviews, in those statements that she's made. Exactly. If you're going to go and watch Supergirl because you think Supergirl should turn you on, why bother going to the cinema to watch this film? Why not just watch this? This is what you want, right? This is for you. This is the porn version or porn versions of Supergirl. It's already there for you. Amongst all of that subtext, from all of those commenters, from all of those YouTube videos about this particular thing, it's not even subtext anymore. It's like the actual text. It's thinking, and only thinking, that a female character in not just Supergirl, but any movie that's ever existed is just there for your titillation, and that's it. There to be gazed at like an object. But I suppose outside of that sphere, the world of regular, normal human beings, you know, of like normal people, they're going to see Supergirl to watch, well, I mean, to watch a superhero action film, right? Because that's all that it is. I suppose we need to review the film, right? That's maybe what we should do. We've covered a bit of the pathetic outrage that's happened with the release of this film. So let's review Supergirl. Let's talk about that film because that's what we're here to do. But before we do that, there is a video on my channel that upset some of these man, baby, children, whatever you want to call them. It upset them enough to get more dislikes than likes, which I am kind of proud of, to be honest. The babies couldn't cope with being told the truth and shown the truth. I mean, check out that video. It's there somewhere. That particular outcry a few weeks back, maybe a month back, I can't remember when it was, but that was focused solely before the movie had even been released, before anyone had even seen it. They were all talking about how terrible the Supergirl movie is when nobody'd seen it. I think they got upset at Supergirl being a girl. So, what the fuck? I guess it basically runs along the same lines as the attitude where, in film entertainment, women should only be saved by men or be titillating decoration for men heroes and nothing more. But now that Supergirl is out, we're in a whole other stratosphere of implosion, explosion. I'm not sure which way it is. It's striking, crying, outrage, all manner of bigoted nonsense. It's all just blabber. I've even heard it said that this film is worse than they could ever have imagined. Some of the comments that I've seen, they've got this cat out of the bag feeling to them. The ones you can see on the various socials out there. It's like the people who make these comments, they're perfectly okay, proud in fact, to be this childish and this petty and this pathetic. Exactly like the playground bully. You know, that playground bully that we've all met at some point in our lives. A complete knobhead, commenting on people's looks, commenting on any weakness that somebody might have, exploiting that weakness and making somebody else feel like shit because of it. But again, I suppose we're here to review the Supergirl film. Although some of that stuff is absolutely part of this whole experience, part of this whole Supergirl 2026 thing. We're here to review the Supergirl film. We're not here to review how attractive Millie Alcock is or isn't. We're not here to worry about the things that she may have meant, especially when she said stuff like this.
She's a really great representation of what a modern woman can be. She can be strong, she can be tough, she can be messy. And I love how this film doesn't center around any sort of love, you know? It doesn't center around romance or anything like that at all. And she has such resilience.
So let's do it. Let's do our job. How is Supergirl 2026? It's basically a sci-fi western. And what I mean by that is, you know, in most westerns, you've got a kind of unhinged hero. That's an important thing to note about Supergirl. Obviously, she's a girl, so it goes against type because ordinarily a western hero, i.e. a cowboy, is usually a boy. She's a traumatized survivor. She's absolutely 100% messy and flawed. To be fair, I wouldn't want a superhero any other way, really. I think the whole idea behind the character and the way that they've decided to do it, it's not only different, it makes it a little bit more interesting. And it gives Supergirl an edge that I wasn't expecting. She's running away from the shit that she's been through, because she's been through a lot. She's drowning her pain in self-neglect and loads of booze. It's something we've seen like a million times, right? We've seen the cut-up, broken hero of a movie in self-destruct mode. But only this time, it's done by a young woman, which obviously is upsetting to some people. I guess folk don't really like it. They don't want to see a woman going through stuff emotionally in their superhero films. It's not what they want to see, right? How mature, how grown up we've become. The biggest question to answer here about Supergirl, the most important question, if we ignore all of the incel boomer nonsense, is the Supergirl movie a good film? The short answer is it's kind of mid. It tries to do lots of things all at once. It is a little messy. It's mid because it's missing a solid heart. Certainly in the scene set in the present. It's lacking an emotional structure to associate to Supergirl. It misses that, certainly at the beginning. I don't think they develop her character enough. Any redemption, any arc that does occur, the change it's too quick, it's too fast, it's not built up to. It just sort of happens. We see too much contrast, and it's not a spoiler. But perhaps that's the point. Maybe. I suppose it does half do it right, which is why I said it's mid. It attempts to do it. That's the thing. I suppose that's the important thing. It has a go and having a go. You know, once or twice we do see the really damaged person that Supergirl has become. When all that bravado and the drowning of sorrows, when all of that calms down, we do see it. But I don't think there's enough of it. There might be a cutting room floor somewhere filled with those scenes that do show the damage that's been done to Supergirl internally. Mentally, it's sort of brushed over. Like I say, there are one or two scenes that do show it, but there's just not enough of it. You know, the film is for young adults. That's what it is. I mean, in the UK, it's rated 12A, which basically means it's for people aged 12 or above. Anyone younger than 12 is allowed to go and see it as long as they're with an adult. We're aiming for some sort of Hunger Games-y kind of Guardians of the Galaxy sort of thing going on. Have you seen Guardians of the Galaxy 3? Oh my god, I wasn't expecting that to be an emotional piece. But damn it, it is. Hunger Games, Guardians of the Galaxy, all those kind of films, they don't run away from letting its audience deal with the dark things, deal with the negativity, the negative moments that some of the heroes have. They're all the better for it. But here in Supergirl, she's turned to drink, and anybody that goes down that road, it is a hard road. People do that sort of thing because they can't cope with reality. It's something internal, something in the mind. They need to blot it out with drink, and that's what Supergirl is doing. The moments where Supergirl does have an emotional vulnerability is over Krypto. And Krypto is her dog. And quite rightly too, why you'd react that way. Because Krypto is, like most dogs, completely amazing. He's just a fun little guy, you know? Awesome. From a visual effects perspective, he's completely CGI. There's no real dog Krypto. The visual effects, the rendering of him as a full three-dimensional creature on screen is very, very good. I mean, there are a couple of uncanny valley moments, I suppose, when you watch him, but the majority of the time where you see Krypto, he looks great as a CGI rendering. And also, he looks so damn cute. What a cute dog. But crucially, he is all that Kara, Supergirl, has left in the world. Well, has left in the universe, actually. Certainly from her past. This is definitely where the barriers that she's built, they're broken down, and we get the emotion because of a dog, not because of a guy. And that may be why some of those incels are upset as well, because she's not fawning over some man like she should be, because that's what women should do, right? That's what women should... Is it? And because of that, she's definitely an unattractive female, yeah? We see her past in flashback. We see her home planet destruction. We get led through the difference between Superman and Supergirl's situation, which I kind of wanted to see, to be honest. And also, of course, why Supergirl is where she is, like right now, in the present. It all works really well. It isn't dull, it isn't overlong, and it explains perfectly why Supergirl is where she is right now. And the destruction of her home planet. I think the visual effects are really good in this film overall, but particularly in those scenes. It looks great. It's horrific, it's massive, and it's destructive, and it's good special effects. That's what it is. She saw what happened to her home planet, to her parents, to everybody that she knew and loved back home. That's affected her. Right, that's affected her in a different way than it affected Superman, because Superman didn't have to deal with it that way. He didn't have to deal with that at all. He knew about it, of course, but he didn't see it firsthand. He didn't see the horrors. And that's the difference between Superman and Supergirl in this case. That really works. You know, she lives in a sort of spaceship motorhome that, like, travels around the galaxy, the universe, and stops off at planets with red suns. She floats around the galaxy in this thing that she lives in with Krypto, and she's not coming out of her self-destructive mode for anyone. She's there to basically drink herself to death, I presume. It isn't leaving Las Vegas, that's true, it isn't that. We don't go there with it, but we definitely get a glossed over version of that self-destruction, which is important and is interesting all at the same time. As a distinct parallel to Supergirl is Ruthie. She's played by Eve Ridley. More on that later, I guess. But Ruthie has got a taste for revenge in its purest form, straight from her heart. And that's juxtaposed completely against Supergirl's attitude towards her own trauma, which is not only interesting, but in some scenes, it is kind of funny. Ruthie's beloved family is murdered by the main bad guy in this film. He's a great baddie, actually. He's a horrible good baddie. Does that make any sense? He's called Krem. Krem of the Yellow Hills, in fact. A sort of mercenary, a space pirate with a typical gang of horrible types following his every word. He's also got a group of sex slaves, which I wasn't expecting to see in this film, but there you go. And that is horrific. I mean, it is. It's totally horrific. It reminds me a little bit of the face guy in the Mad Max films. The guy. The slaves are kept to sort of keep producing more bad guys, essentially. I mean, it is kind of glossed over, but and it's very dark. I mean, that's a really dark and horrific thing, right? And I suppose it emphasizes how horrible he is. Krem and his group, they travel around terrorizing planets, people, well, anyone, extorting money, goods, kidnapping ruthlessly from anyone that they can. Krem is pretty great here, though. I mean, he's got a sort of respect for his victims, a sort of sorrow for them. I'm sorry, but I have to do this. He's a bad guy. Disgusting, in fact. In Supergirl, it's nice that the bad guy isn't a planet-destroying being of some sort. Instead, he's basically a thief, a petty thief, a scary, horrific, boots on the ground disgrace of an alien. A real nasty bad guy. We talked a little bit about the three main characters in the film, the ones that carry this whole thing. You got Supergirl, you got Ruthie, you got Krem. But there's one other guy, there's one other character in this film. And I'm going to call him Mr. Underused. He's Libido. Libido. No, not libido. And he steals every single scene that he's in. Amazing. You instantly love his character. He's one of those movie characters where he's good, bad at the same time. And he's criminally underused in this film. I mean, honestly, he's out to get a bounty on Krem, and he's out to get a bounty on some of Krem's horrific posse. He's quite happy to sit back and let Supergirl and Ruthie make the mess, and then he just sweeps in afterwards and is like, yeah, I got this. He shows up at the right times in the movie, he does stuff, and then disappears off for a bit. I just wish there was more of him. His character is a completely stark contrast to Ruthie. The scenes when those two are together are brilliant. I mean, they're excellent. Okay, we've pulled over to talk a little bit about the story. Supergirl is hiding. She's running away from herself and living in places where her strength and powers, which in a mental crisis, are meaningless. Those powers are neutered. She wants to descend into the void. She wants to feel the pain. Ruthie shows up with revenge on her mind. She wants to kill Krem. And she convinces Supergirl to reluctantly help her, where Ruthie is absolutely out of her depth, aided by the fact that Krem has also severely hurt Krypto. And he's harmed the one and only positive thing that Supergirl has got left in her life. We end up travelling in a sort of Galactic National Express coach, and we get to journey along with Supergirl and Ruthie to get revenge. There are loads of plot conveniences that sort of align everything perfectly, which is lazy writing, but the film does mix fun, self-deprecating humour, emotional moments, and awesome set pieces. It blends them all together and it does a decent job of showing us all that. But there are some misses here, though. A massive chance to really show an arc in Supergirl, but more on that in a minute. I suppose I'll say that nothing in Supergirl is horrible. Nothing definitely warrants the overreaction to it, but at the same time it is a victim of the oversaturation of the Marvel and the Guardians of the Galaxy style. All that stuff feels pretty worn out at this point. And I suppose if you think about it, if you think back to last year, Superman 2025 was a little bit different to all of that. And I think that's what made it stand out slightly. That film played a really good game of tribute and update without much copying. It felt different and it remained light. Here though, the Supergirl movie reverts to type, to the typical superhero formula, which I guess makes it not really stand out that much. It makes it, as I said before, a bit mid. So I'm going to do a bit of a spoiler alert. I'm going to say, right, for the next 30 seconds to 1 minute, there's going to be a spoiler because there's something that I do need to talk about. So please turn this off if you don't want to know, if you don't want to know what I'm going to say. Here's the one exception to what I've just said before about the mid stuff and all of that. Okay, here we go. In the killing of the bad guys scene, Krem, and all of his other guys. Supergirl is ruthless. I guess she's almost out of control in the way she dispatches those bad guys. I noticed that in amongst all the chaos, we see her face, and it's almost with an expression of joy. Joy that she's powerful enough to just do all of this so easily. Powerful enough to get rid of all of those bad guys who dared to harm her and her friend. Those guys that dared to take her from that suffering that she was enjoying so much. Watch that scene and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It's there, and despite what's going on, Millie Alcock is able to show us that nuance within all of those particular scenes. And I think it's a clue as to the idea of what this Supergirl is all about. Like I mentioned, she's the exact opposite to Superman, particularly the new Superman. And it does work. When you see that subtext, when you see that context, when you see that particular thing, you do think, right, okay, all right then, they're having a go at making this more than what it appears to be. It's one piece of magic that I noticed in this film. Ultimately, it's not quite good enough. I just wish there was more of it. I wish there was more of that. So, let's carry on, let's get out of here, and let's talk about characters. Millie Alcock, she plays Supergirl, obviously. She's from Australia, and she's got a long list of TV roles that she's been in previously, before this. Most famously, playing one of the main characters in the first season of House of Dragon, which is the prequel to Game of Thrones. And she's been the object of the bigoted response, the bigoted backlash, ever since this film was announced, and ever since it was announced that she's playing Supergirl. The furor, the internet lit up with the fires of hell and misery and doom and gloom and overreaction and just all of that stuff. It all went into absolute meltdown. And now we live in a world where the Supergirl film has been released. It's out now. We can go and see it. And it's not as bad as everyone said it was, particularly people that said it was bad before it was even released. And Millie Alcock is definitely not something that ruins the film at all. In fact, the film isn't bad enough to say that it's ruined in the first place. She is good as Supergirl. She's really good. She does kind of own the role. I mean, she does. She takes the role from the previous version of Supergirl, which was a movie from the 80s. And it wasn't that great, really. I mean, it's shit, basically. She definitely builds on the Supergirl character and is more in line with the Supergirl character that existed in the comics. And that's a reference to the original, right? That's something that we should celebrate, not something that we should be against. We always want authenticity in these things. That's what people moan about. That's what those people complain about the most, authenticity. And Millie Alcock plays an authentic version of Supergirl. And you can't fault her for that. No matter how good or bad the film is put together, she is good as Supergirl. Let's talk a little bit about Eve Ridley. She plays Ruthie. And Ruthie is the person who has to deal with losing her entire family, with losing the people that she loves most in the world. She's a really young girl, right? She is. And I'm going to have to say it, right? And I feel really bad saying it, but I think as an actor, as somebody that portrays this particular character in this particular film, I don't think it's good enough. I think it's a little bit lines getting read out. I don't think there's a lot of emotion in her performance. I think the way that she says things, you know, in pretty much any situation that she's in the film, is in this kind of wooden way. It's in this wooden way. And I hate saying it because even though that happens, there are some really good moments, particularly between Ruthie and particularly between Lobodo. I suppose that woodenness works against a character like Lobodo, played by Jason Momoa, essentially. I mean, that's all right. And the woodenness isn't the entire way through. There are some bits, and I suppose crucial bits, that do work. So I don't want to beat down on a really young actor and say that the performance is bad. But the performance is bad. It's not great. It doesn't ruin the film, but you think there are a lot of really good actors out there. Child actors, kids that can act amazingly. We've got so many examples. Here we are in A film that absolutely has to deliver because of all the reaction, because of all of the negativity. It's got to deliver. And I think her character's great, but her as the person performing, it could be better. It's not great. Oh my God, I feel bad saying it. Oh my God, did I really say all that? And I suppose we've mentioned him a couple of times now. We'll just talk about Jason Momoa. We'll just talk about Lobodo because, again, he is awesome. He is one of the things that really elevates this film. I mean, Millie Alcock is one of them, and Jason Momoa is the other. Lobodo is a mercenary himself. He's a bounty hunter, and he's got more charisma in his little finger than Pedro Pascal has in The Mandalorian, particularly the Mandalorian and Grogu film, where he is void of any personality whatsoever. Well, it's the complete opposite here in Supergirl. Momoa, the bounty hunter, is fantastic. Makes the film, for me, awesome. The visual effects, let's talk about them. The visual effects in this movie are a little bit better than your typical CGI heavy movie. The rendering of the stuff in the frame is great. I mean, it looks very, very good. I don't think there are any visual effects that are poor at all, to be honest with you. All of it's looking good. The planets, the atmospheres, the little creatures, you know, the spaceships, and all them things that are obviously done afterwards in a computer all look photoreal, and that is great. So I can't fault it on that either. Its visual effects are really great. Even the cinematography, I mean, it's epic. It does look stunning, even when it looks horrible, if you know what I'm saying. Supergirl's little motorhome spaceshipy thing, it looks awesome. It's a great set. It's grotty and grimy. It needs a good clean. And that just means that the set designers and the props department and everything else, they did a great job putting all that stuff together. All the weird, strange, otherworldly cantinas and bars and towns and cities and all of that, they all look great. They all fit in with the aesthetic of this movie. And I read somewhere where people are also complaining about the film is too dark. I didn't see that this film was dark at all. I could see what was going on. There were some scenes where, yes, it was dark in the scene, but it wasn't dark because it was underlit. I know there's been situations where some movies see the Alien films, for example, the newer ones, even Nosferatu, that was out last year or a couple of years ago. That's a very dark film. But I think that Supergirl is not a dark film, like visually. I think it looks fine. There was no points where I couldn't see what was going on. So I don't understand that criticism. Maybe it's people just picking on anything to hate on this film. Maybe that's what that is. And towards the end, I guess it's not a spoiler, so it's okay. But throughout the film, they have these one-shots, these single-take scenes. And there's maybe like 3 or 4 of them. And each time that they happen, they're really interesting to look at. They're really great. And I suppose there are hidden cuts in there, but I couldn't spot them. One of them takes place on the space bus thing, but the most interesting one, the best one, takes place towards the end of the film. There's a scene where Ruthie is sort of on her own. Supergirl is doing some other stuff, kind of a little bit Mad Max style. And all of the cars and stuff that they have, they all surround Ruthie. Obviously, they're gonna try and kill her, right? They're gonna try and put a stop to it all. Supergirl notices that Ruthie is in this precarious situation. Supergirl flies out of the spaceship that she's in, and she basically does this one-take sequence of dispatching every single bad guy. And it's all sort of shot from the perspective of Ruthie. So Ruthie's in the frame, and Ruthie's reacting to all of this stuff going on. And, you know, there's cars flying everywhere, there's bodies flying everywhere, bits of this and that going on. All the time we're seeing Ruthie's reaction in slow motion. It's really, really remarkable. It's on for ages, and it's all one shot. And I absolutely loved it. I thought, wow, when I saw that. I mean, it really was great. It's a great shot. Okay, we've pulled over to talk a little bit about the director, because we were just talking about the visual effects. And I reckon that's a good point to start talking about who actually directed this film. So contrary to what a lot of people might think, this film wasn't directed by James Gunn. It's produced by James Gunn, and it's from that same sort of cinematic universe that James Gunn is trying to create, you know, that DCU thing. It's directed by a guy called Craig Gillespie. Now, I've never really heard of Craig Gillespie before. He's not a major household name director, and that's fine, because there are a lot of those around. So let's talk a little bit about Craig Gillespie's previous films and how we ended up here with Supergirl. Back in 2007, there was a really sort of, well, I guess an indie film called Lars and the Real Girl. I really hated that film, to be honest with you. I couldn't stand it. I hated it. Craig Gillespie is responsible for that. So we're not off to a good start here. Then he comes along with Fright Night, which features an amazing performance from David Tennant, and it kind of redeems Gillespie from the awfulness of Lars and the Real Girl. A movie I've not seen called $1 Million Arm. I don't even know what that could possibly be about. Again, another one I haven't seen, and maybe I should, called The Finest Hours. Don't know. And two pretty awesome films, I've got to admit. And both of them are along the same lines as the Supergirl film, I think. Elements of I, Tonya, which is the other film that David Gillespie's made. I think there's a couple of elements of the I, Tonya character in Supergirl. There is. I think this version of Supergirl herself, you know, is very I, Tonya-y. The other film that Craig Gillespie has made is Cruella, the version with Emma Stone. It's really, I mean, that's really good. It is great. It's one of the most underappreciated and overlooked of those Disney reimaginings or those remakes or whatever. As I said before at the start of the thing, we don't want any remakes really. We don't want any of that stuff. We just want, you know, let's have original films. But if we're going to have them, then stuff with the quality of something like Cruella is most definitely where it should be. And he's the director of Cruella, and Cruella is really good. If you haven't seen it, actually, and you've got kids, then, yeah, watch Cruella. It's good. It's very good. And then before Supergirl, the last movie he released was a movie called Dumb Money, which I really want to see because it's about that GameStop thing and how, obviously, the financial industry saw normal people making money and went, well, they're not having any of that. Sorry, no. We're going to put a stop to that. So I'm interested to see that film, Dumb Money, and I'll probably watch it this weekend, knowing that he's made Supergirl. Indeed, that does bring us to Supergirl. We're bang up to date with Craig Gillespie. And I guess it's important because there are two films in there which are very similar, and you can see the essence of them in Supergirl. As I said, I, Tonya and Cruella, I think both of those films, Supergirl borrows some stuff from them. I think so. Obviously, it's, you know, it's the whole DCU universe and it's got all of that baggage with it. From a vision perspective, I reckon that there's a couple of influences from those two particular films in this. And that's great, right? That is great. All right, we're back on the road. So let's sum up Supergirl. Supergirl was always doomed from the start. In fact, Supergirl was doomed before the start. The online reaction to the announcement, introduction, the first trailers was met with the worst from trolls, from incels, and from all of the community that did the same thing for stuff like Snow White, that did the same thing for stuff like the Mad Max film with Anya Taylor-Joy in it. And Supergirl has appeared on our screens with a mixed reaction. I think it's scores on those sites that have scores, like Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, and a few others as well. The scores aren't that bad, and the scores are like somewhere in the middle. And I think that reflects what this film is. Because if we ignore all of the completely over-the-top, insane nonsense that all of these people have been talking about, and we boil down Supergirl into its component parts, then we'll see an almost competent, almost interesting, almost fun spectacle of a superhero movie. People hate it because, for some weird reason, a movie called Supergirl features a girl as its hero, and that girl doesn't need a male to enhance her life, to make her journey better, to fix her. In terms of recommending this movie, I don't think there's anything horrific about Supergirl. I don't think the film is really that bad at all. I don't think it's great either. It probably could have done with another rewrite. It probably could have done with another thinking session. But the one thing that I think stands out and makes the experience of going to watch Supergirl an enjoyable one is definitely Millie Alcock's performance. Because despite what everybody says, despite the horrific things that they say about the way she looks, she really is good in this. She really does bring an interesting aspect to the Supergirl character. Now, is she a girl boss? I mean, I suppose she is a girl boss, because what else would Supergirl be? She's the strongest woman in the whole universe, the same way that Superman is the strongest man in the whole universe. So, of course, she's gonna be that, right? And my response to Supergirl is, it's not a bad movie. It's nowhere near as hateful. It's nowhere near as disgraceful. It's nowhere near as awful as those people say that it is. Unless, of course, I don't know, someone ran into the cinema, pulled your pants down and cut your dick off. I think that's probably the only way that this film could be as bad as the reaction to this film has been. One thing we've got to mention is the stark contrast between Superman and Supergirl. The Superman 2025 movie, and I'm also talking about the Superman 1978 movie. The difference between those two films and this version of Supergirl. And in particular, the fact that the vision of Supergirl right here in this version is most definitely the yin to Superman's yang. Or is it the yang to Superman's yin? Whichever. Both characters are completely opposite. They're polar opposite to each other. And I think that's important, because if you had Superman and Supergirl who were essentially the same outlook in everything, because Superman is a very positive, I guess in a way dorky kind of a guy, and that goes for both the 1978 Superman and also the Superman in the 2025 Superman film. So they both relate to each other really closely. You know, then you've got the Superman of the Zack Snyder universe, which is very, very gloomy and very, very, well, city destroying. I don't think the Henry Cavill Superman is particularly bad either, though. The outlook is very much a sort of messianic, complex thingy. He's looked on as a Jesus figure, as a holy figure, than anything else in the Zack Snyder Superman films. And I don't think they're particularly bad either. I think those are all right. I mean, they have their place. They're very action-orientated, which I suppose, in a way, this version of Supergirl is also very action-orientated. And like I say, I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with the Zack Snyder Superman films at all. It's just the 2025 Superman and the 1978 Superman are very, very different. They are the contrast that we need to balance against this version of Supergirl, because Supergirl and Superman are absolutely different people. And none of that is a criticism. That stuff is a good thing, because it means whatever's coming up next, whatever we're going to get served from this new Superman universe that James Gunn is building, then I can't see the problem. You've got that different character of Supergirl and you've got that different character of Superman, you know, yin and yang. If you've got no intention of watching Supergirl, then just let it be. But if you're on the fence, if you're thinking to yourself, I don't know whether I should go and see it, I've heard some stuff here which say it's bad and some stuff here which say it's good, I would say take that chance. Go and watch it. Go and make your own mind up. Even the stuff that I've said, I've enjoyed defending this film because there aren't many people that are out there defending it. But I'm still not blinded enough to see that it does have flaws and it isn't perfect. If they'd have included some of the missing stuff, like some more character development from Millie Alcock, some more of her negative persona, just diving a little bit deeper into that, then I think we would be looking at a film that is way, way better than it is. But as it stands, all of the components and all of the elements are there to make this an okay movie. And that's exactly what it is. It's an okay movie. This is the Film Podcast. Thank you for watching my review of Supergirl, the 2026 movie. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And I will see you again soon for another review right here on the channel.